Game 7 in Boston, and it's the Celtics beating the Sixers, and it was a blowout. Philly getting mollywopped, 112-88. Jason Tatum, a Game 7 record, 51 points, just 2 weeks after Steph Curry dropped 50 on the Kings out in Sacramento. Joel Embiid and also James Harden combined for just 24 points, 8 of 29 from the floor. Sixers had control of the game going into the second quarter. C's took over after a couple of double techs and some chippiness late in the second quarter. Took the lead into the half and just exploded in the third quarter. And it's the C's winning by 24. Game 7, 112-88. They'll get the Miami Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals for the third time in the last 4 years. Game 1 will be in Boston on Wednesday night. All right, let's go ahead and bring in our CBS Sports NBA insider. There he is, Reiter than you, Bill Reiter. And Bill, you look at it, Jaylen Brown, he was imploring. He put a challenge out there to the Celtics fans. We need you to show up. We need you to show out. And that's exactly what they did. They showed up big time. But it was JT who actually delivered, the player on the floor. Didn't play very well early on in the last few games. Had that great finish in Game 6. And then in Game 7, he was spectacular, 51 points. How good was Jason Tatum in this closeout game for the C's?
I mean, he was literally, from an offensive perspective, Larry, the best player in NBA history in a Game 7. And you said it started the last game, I think 1 of 14 from the field, and scored 16 points in the fourth quarter to outscore this Philly team in Game 6 in the fourth quarter. And you're right, kept it rolling, that momentum, that swagger. And just a reminder, this is one of those guys in such a juxtaposition between his confidence and what we saw from Harden and Embiid. He struggled early on in Game 6, didn't matter, believed in himself, thought he was the man, proved that he was in the fourth quarter of the last game, and certainly proved again that he was in this decisive Game 7. He was incredible.
Bill, let's go back to that second quarter there. Sixers were up 8. James Harden, he's going in, gets the foul there, the flagrant foul. He slaps Jaylen Brown across the face. C's go ahead and score 8 straight, tie the game up. And then there was a double tech there with Jaylen Brown getting his leg grabbed on the bench by Niang there, George Niang. And then the C's just took off from there. It seems like that was the inflection point in this game. What were your thoughts there with that, how chippy it got and how it seemed like that drove the Celtics to this victory here going into the second half?
I mean, it's always going to get chippy in a Game 7 between these two teams, but you're right. A player on the bench grabbing the leg of another player, we've seen a lot of things, Larry, and maybe I've just missed it, but I cannot remember having seen that before. And I think what we're talking about here is the Celtics were able to respond to the intensity and the stress and the anger and the frustration, which was certainly epitomized by the things you're talking about. And this Sixers team, they were not. I mean, this is a Sixers team that were up 3-2. We knew it was going to be a battle. It was always going to be chippy, and you're right. When things got ugly, when things really got to be a battle, it was Boston who responded, and it was Philly who absolutely faded.
Bill, you were just talking about JT, 51 points here, a Game 7 record. Just phenomenal from the floor there. 17 of 28 from the floor, 6 of 10 from three-point range, and 11 of his 14 free throws as well. He was a plus 33 in this ball game. After Game 6, he said, humbly speaking, I'm one of the best players in the world. Did he prove that today? Did he validate that first-team All-NBA status for you today, Bill?
Yeah, I thought he proved it earlier. I mean, I put him on my NBA All-First team. He was, I think, if I remember right, Larry, 5th on my MVP ballot. There are 5 names that go on those official ballots. He's been one of the best players in the game for a while now. Remember, this is a team that made a run to the finals last year, lost to the Warriors. Tatum didn't play well, especially at the end of that series, and it turned out, we found out later, he was dealing with a little bit of an injury. I think this just underlines and underscores for folks what's been true for a while, what Jason Tatum did say, and he said it accurately, he said it with truth, he said it with as much humility as he can. He is one of the best players on the face of the earth, and he literally himself, single-handedly, had the best offensive performance in a Game 7 in NBA history and helped carry the Celtics team not just to the conference finals, but a humiliating victory, a beatdown against this Philly team. He's extraordinary.
Yeah, C's outscored the Sixers 33-10 there in that decisive third quarter to go ahead and win this game and cruise and win by 24. You look at the Sixers, wow, Embiid and James Harden combining for just 24. Embiid with just 15. 8 of 29 from the floor combined. How much trouble were the Sixers in when you got your 2 best players there, Phil? Bill didn't really bring it for the Phillies there in Boston in Game 7, Bill.
Yeah, hard to win when one of your best players is playing like, excuse the term, trash. But that's what happened. And we had their two best players. They were awful. And we've seen this story before. We've seen it from James Harden. I think we're starting to see a bit of a pattern from Joel Embiid. We've seen it from Doc Rivers' coach teams. I mean, there's a history here, and this was an opportunity certainly for Harden, certainly for Doc Rivers as the head coach, and I think, Larry, to a degree for Embiid, who obviously just came off his first MVP, to change that narrative, to change that reality, to change that pattern. And not only did they lose, which happens, you're playing a good Celtics team, but they were both those players awful. That team had absolutely no fight. As we see from the final score, and if you watch the game after the first half, they got absolutely destroyed. I know we throw this word around. This is an embarrassment for the Sixers. It's an embarrassment for the front office. It's an embarrassment for the coaching staff. It's an embarrassment for those two stars. It's an embarrassment for everyone associated with Philadelphia because they absolutely faded and just were I mean, the effort was lacking. The intensity was lacking. They were awful, Larry, and there's no excuse for that kind of performance in a Game 7.
Well, you look at Joel Embiid during his tenure there, the Sixers have not gotten past that second round or so the conference semis. You look at it going into the offseason, you look at Doc Rivers, who's been there a handful of years now. Game 7, most Game 7s in the history of the NBA, got the most losses as well. Now 6-10, that's 10 losses in Game 7s in NBA history. No other coach has more than that, Bill. Looking in the future there, how much trouble is Doc Rivers in right now when this team can't really get past the hump? He's got an MVP, got one of the former MVP on the team with James Harden, and they just can't seem to get to a conference final.
So this is educated speculation. I don't know anything yet officially. I don't have any reporting, Larry, but I would be stunned. I would be absolutely flabbergasted if Doc Rivers is the coach of the Sixers next year. I mean, you noted all of those things. He's also, and this doesn't apply to this series, but he's blown more 3-1 series leads than any coach in NBA history. Almost as many, I believe it is 3-2 series leads. It does apply to this series as any coach in NBA history. When his teams that he coaches have an opportunity to win a game, to advance in any playoff, they've won about 33% of those games. They obviously lost this game tonight. And remember, Daryl Morey, who's the president of basketball operations in Philadelphia, did not hire Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers left and was fired from the Clippers. He got this job, and then they hired, in effect, his boss. So we'll see. We will certainly see what Daryl Morey decides to do, but I would be stunned if Doc Rivers is coaching the Sixers next season.